record this, March 24, 2021. Okay. So you can see here, we hit a new high, what, 5 days ago on the S&P. And since then, we've gone down sideways a little bit here to basically holding on here. This is the S&P, folks, the 20 period moving average, right? And very, very normal for this to happen as markets don't go straight up or straight down, okay? So when we had this Laguerre trigger short, okay, I'm not too interested in that. I mean, we could head down to the 50. Absolutely, it could happen again. You can see how that's been great support. But I'm just holding off on this point because I don't know how much it's going to go down, and I love the long play coming. Okay, so again, a lot of it I just kind of hold on versus taking both sides of a trigger against. Look at this beautiful seasonal starting right now next week on the indexes. Okay, so right now I'm just kind of holding forward on the S&P. The Dow's been the strongest, right? We know that. It basically didn't even touch that 20 period. And then the NASDAQ has been the weakest, right? But we'll also end up giving you the most, my opinion, the most profit opportunity as we head to new highs here within the next month to 6 weeks, okay? You may say, well, wait a minute. Dr. Keith just said we'll probably hit new highs in the next month to 6 weeks. Yes, I do believe that. April is typically an extremely bullish month, okay? And I had an email from somebody this week that said, well, you think it's going to happen this year because of how weird it's been? So I think that's a great question to focus on for a couple minutes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring open the seasonal a little bit bigger for everybody, okay? Now, as a reminder, in fact, let me get rid of, well, I'll keep it on there. So look at the white dotted line, okay? This is the 10-year of typically what happens on the, in this case, the NASDAQ. In fact, let's bring up, because I was talking about, I want to bring up the S&P. Okay, they look pretty similar, but all right. So what should have happened here is what the white line is for. Okay, it's telling you this is what should have happened during the last 10 years, based on the last 10 years of the seasonal movement. Okay, and what did price actually do? Again, it's never going to match perfectly. I wish. I mean, wouldn't that be easy? But what we look for is, you know, the red and the green line is what actually happened, right? So it should have went higher up until February, and it did. Okay, it went higher from left to right, and we should have had this move down from mid-February to right about now, and we did. Okay, so my answer back to the email was, listen, the markets are acting extremely normal. They're doing exactly what they should be doing from a seasonal standpoint. So for me to go out there publicly and say, I think we're going to hit new highs in the NASDAQ, in the S&P, in the Dow over the next 4 to 6 weeks, okay? That's really not going that far out on a limb, folks, okay? Because we don't have that much room to go. And once the NASDAQ gets going, hang on, okay? Hang on. But again, it's not because I'm smarter than anybody else. It's not because I'm always right, because I'm not. But I can go out there and say that publicly because I know the odds are so overwhelming that we're going to go higher that I want folks not to short. Hey, John. Okay. And, you know, I know some folks that like to short the markets. April is not the time to do it. Okay. When would you want to start shorting more markets? July. Okay. When everybody's at their pools and on vacation That's when you short the market, not April. There's some trading days in April, folks, that the market's gone higher 22 out of 22 years. Okay. So, and we'll get in more to that. I'll show you some of that each week as we have these sessions to give you some ideas, suggestions. But the biggest point I want to continue to stress right now is we're in a bullish market. I don't care about all the news that's going on, the negativity. It's been like that for a year and a half, and we keep hitting new highs, folks. Okay. So until it tells me otherwise, and until the data suggests that we're not, take these retracements and go long with triggers, right? You have to have a system, folks. So we're consolidating here kind of right now on the S&P, okay? 2 to 3 days of back and forth, back and forth. At some point, we're going to explode higher. So if it goes lower first and actually touches again this 50 period, okay, that's even going to be a better opportunity, in my opinion, okay? Again, everything I'm showing you here is just from my experience, my indicators, the overall sentiment of the markets, okay? Retailers are still shorting the markets. They've been shorting this entire time, okay? The only time they started going net long was during this decline. Yes, I know that sounds crazy. I'm not making that up. During this decline, that's when traders started going net long. That's why I like to go in the opposite direction of them, okay? The retailers, the traders, the inexperienced traders are the ones that lose money almost all the time. So when we can go into the direction of a seasonal movement and sentiment of retailers is in the opposite of that seasonal, that's perfect setup, folks. It's a perfect storm, okay? Okay. I want to talk about crude in a minute, but let me bring up Apple for a second. This is one of my open trades. I'm down right now on this a little bit, I think 20% or something like that, okay? But because I know April's such a bullish month, folks, here's an example where I could get out today, absolutely. Take a 20% loss or whatever it closes at today and look to retool, okay? But because I know these high probabilities coming, okay, I don't want to actually exit the market because I do believe we'll just gap up one day, okay? But I like to show these examples because I took the trigger on the Laguerre, okay? It went up and then it's just kind of gone down and retracing sideways right now, okay? So, but as a trader, you can make that decision. If this closes as a red Hackenacci, you can say, you know what, I'm going to exit. I'll wait for a new entry in the future, okay? I'm not exiting my longs right now because I know what's coming. At least what's been coming from past years. And we're following that seasonal move, okay, on the indexes really well, okay? Apple's been weaker this year than it typically is, okay? So that's the only asterisk on Apple. But Apple will probably move as the NASDAQ moves, more than likely as we continue in here. So I think you're getting discounts on Apple, okay? Certainly if you're buying the stock, I think it's a great time to buy the stock and hold it, okay? If you're not sure, go in a quarter of your size. That way, if it goes against you, you can add back into that. So there's a lot of ways to play something, okay? But Apple, I'm absolutely holding. I do believe it'll get up to 200 this year, folks, okay? Okay, so let me bring up one of my favorite opportunities right now. Crude oil, okay? Which again, folks, you can trade USO, OIL, right? There's a lot of ETFs if you just trade stocks. But look at this. So remember, in an uptrend, you always get retracements. You just don't know when, right? And you don't know how far. So like right here is a great example. We had a retracement to the 20 period, came up, hit new highs. And now it came back down here. You thought maybe this was the bottom. This was the bottom. But again, here's the beauty of a trading system. The Laguerre picked it here. And the Laguerre will pick a really nice opportunity for you with green Hackenacci candles here in the near future. Okay. What day will it be? It'll be Friday. No, I don't know what day, folks. Whenever it tells us. Okay. I wish I could predict that far in advance. Okay. But more than likely, after today's, if it today closes where it is, okay, nice move up today, $3 on oil. We'll probably get the Laguerre curving. When we do get a green Hackenacci and a Laguerre, okay, this is a great entry long again. Okay, we typically top on oil in April, mid-April. Okay, but we've also been in this monstrous uptrend. Okay, the only asterisk to this trade is retailers have recently gone, guess what? Net long, right? Of course they did. That's why this is happening. Okay. And so I'm waiting for the sentiment to reverse as well. But typically what happens, folks, is when we get triggers long and everything else, it usually will match that sentiment at that point in time. Okay. That's just typically the way the Laguerre and Hackenacci work. Okay. But if it isn't, okay, that would be my only issue. And what I would do is go in smaller size. Okay. So again, as an example, you could look at USO. Okay. You could do, if you trade futures, you know, you can also trade options of the future. So there's a lot of different ways to trade it. You could pick, let's see, what is it? Marathon. No, that's not it. What is Marathon Oil? MRO, it's MRO, right? Sorry. If I can type right today. So you see how that's been looking just like oil? You could trade Marathon Oil. Okay. So there's a lot of ways to play that. A lot of ways to play that. So keep that on your radar list, folks. Okay, so what else do we got? Well, let me bring up gold again. So as you know, I haven't been big into trading the metals lately. We had a combo long here. I didn't take it. Would have been a nice little profitable gold trade. But as you know, from last week, I think it was, gold's not following its normal pattern. So I just skip it for right now. Okay, just skip it. The VIX. So remember, when you get opportunities like this, high volatility, right, you're going to get these sells. Back up over almost 30, and you get these sells, okay? As this VIX goes down, the markets go up, big picture, most of the time. Not all the time, though, but most of the time, okay? So this is one of those situations where the Laguerre's been heading up, the Hackenacci's been heading down, red dots. I believe this will roll right back over, okay? And probably hit 16, 17 by, if not lower, by the end of April, okay? So if you're a VIX trader, just some opportunity there. If we do get a spike up, absolutely, then there's an opportunity for a short play, okay? All right, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has been really consolidating. And again, it'll happen when you get new highs here, right? So once they hit over 60,000, it's literally be consolidating, okay? Those of you that have mentoring with me, you already know some of this, but I'm extremely bullish, big picture on blockchain in general, right? So, you know, when you get retracements like this, I like to look at stocks, you know, highly correlated to Bitcoin for new entry points, okay? And that's how I'm playing it. So obviously I'm not playing Bitcoin futures, but if I bring up my crypto list here, you know, there's a lot of them that you can look at. Okay, Mara's probably my favorite. You know, if the Mara does come back down to this 50 period, I'll add into my position. It's a 2-year play out. Okay, it just gives you more ammunition when you get these. But these will all hit new highs here in the real near future. Okay, Riot's another one I really like. Okay. My target this year was 40. They hit that way too fast. I should have gave it more room, right? But it, it's taken off with Bitcoin, it retraces. And now this will probably go up to 100 here, certainly by midsummer, in my opinion. Okay. So I like these type of plays further out, but they're pretty volatile. So you can see yourself down 20% in one day, up 20%. You gotta, just my opinion, hold them, be okay with your risk, folks. If you're losing sleep over it, you're putting too much into your trades. Okay. Excellent, John. Yeah, I mean, an entry right here was on 2-2. Absolutely. Right. And then the next entry is right here. And you're going to get a few of these throughout the year on the Laguerre, or you can wait for a next green Hackenacci dot as well. Right? There's plenty of rules and opportunities, right? Those are my two main rules. I either get in with the Laguerre with the green Hackenacci, or if something like here where it comes down, but the Laguerre doesn't go all the way into the green, but then we go back from red to green, right? This is your next entry as well. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So Jim, when I'm doing leaps further out, I typically look at, so let's look at Riot. Okay. Because this will be the next one I do a leap on probably. You see how you can go out to January of 23 here, right? So think about that first of all, right? Almost 2 years worth, you can go out. And you see all the open interest, okay? So what I like to do is I like to look to see what the interest is at. So this is a 57 delta that's got 2,900 contracts. You can get in for, let's say, 1,500 bucks. Okay, that's what I would be doing. I'm just waiting for a trigger now, okay? And think about that. You get in for roughly 50, let's say you got in for 1,500 bucks, okay? You just hold it for a couple of years. The most you could lose is what? Over the next 2 years, 1,500 bucks. So if Riot goes from 46 to, down quite a bit over the next 2 years, and you lose 100%, you lose 1,500 bucks. And again, I know that's a lot of money for people, some people, but my point is, your max risk. And if you're right on this move coming, continued move coming on blockchain and so forth, how much could you make? What if Riot goes to 200 bucks in 2 years? What would that be on an option play? Okay, that would be a multiple percentage return, right? I mean, that's enough to put a down payment on a home. Okay, so little risk for much potential larger rewards with 2 years almost to hold on to that. Okay, that's what I love about this particular play. Okay, but you have to be okay with the risk because nothing, absolutely nothing is guaranteed. We wish it was. Yeah, I like to look at the open interest, Jim, right around a 50 delta, but a lot of the leaps, the deltas are usually typically higher. So you want to be where the money is, where the open interest is. Yep. Yep. Okay. So Olga, like I don't do any research on marijuana stocks. It's not really my thing. If it shows up here, I'll trade it, if it has enough seasonality, or if there's a stock that's highly correlated with a marijuana stock and it's showing up on a radar screen, I'll take them. But I don't go do a bunch of research and look to see if I can find something, because typically what I do for my speculative type trades is like what I just told you with Riot. I'll do a 2-year leap on blockchain, on a blockchain play, because again, if you read up on that, first of all, it's pretty amazing because they only have, like Bitcoin, there's only be so many coins that are sold, right? So all of a sudden they'll all be sold at some point in time, and then what happens? Right? It's like a car. If there's only 6 models of a particular car left in the world, they go up in price, right? So there's going to be a lot of money to be made in cryptocurrency, blockchain, and so forth. Okay, but you got to be okay with the volatility at times. Okay. All right, sorry, I'm not trying to make this a blockchain webinar. All right, so let's look at GameStop. So you can see we obviously had the big move up based on the Reddit in theory, everything else we heard about, right? Then it came crashing down, and then it came up about half of that. Now we come back down, okay? So, some of you may be looking, well, I might try this again to the long side, when and if that Laguerre triggers long again, okay? Might be a smart play. Again, you can risk a little to potentially make a lot more, okay? If you're wrong, who cares? Just size it accordingly, okay? The biggest thing I talk about in my mentoring, and I've mentioned here probably every week I do, and if you're ever losing sleep over one trade, you've got too much into it, okay? Trading is not a sprint, okay? It is a marathon. And I know you probably heard that and that's corny, but it's absolutely true. Because what'll happen is, especially when you're following a high probability seasonal system, folks, these type of moves, okay, this wasn't a seasonal move, I'm just saying, but these type of moves can and will happen throughout the year. So you'll get some of these and hit them crazy nice. Others you'll have some losses, others you'll have your normal 20, 30, 40, 50% gains, but you're going to have some of these home runs, okay? If you put all your effort into one trade, that'll be the losing trade guaranteed. I can guarantee that. That'll be your losing trade, okay? I don't care how great it looks, okay? So folks, another thing I'm looking at, Canadian dollar. So you see this little window coming up from 3-2 roughly to mid-April, okay? Canadian dollar has really good strength coming from a seasonal perspective, from an intra, like from a seasonal within a seasonal, okay? It's coming, folks. Let me check my back testing here real quick. Sorry, I should have had this ahead of time. Yeah, the Canadian dollar has extreme probabilities of going much higher between now and the middle of May. So, this is one of those examples where I just want to see it keep coming down, right? Maybe come back down to this 50 period like it has been, right? And then it's going to be a great long play, okay? So those of you who may not trade futures, you can trade, other stuff that are highly correlated with that Canadian dollar, okay? So some things I'm looking at, so, NVIDIA, again, NVIDIA will test these highs this year, I firmly believe, right? We had this nice down move in February. Now we've had a trigger long. Now it's just kind of hanging out. What'll happen is in the month of April, more than likely, we'll get going back to that upside. Okay, so if you like NVIDIA, you wanted to get some, you're probably getting close to it if you already haven't bought back here. Okay. Tesla, same thing. Same thing. Looking for a trigger here. We got the strong movement coming. Okay, you're getting a nice discount from 900 down to 640, or who knows what it'll go down to, but when we can enter in some of these at huge discounts. Okay, it's like putting money in the bank. Yeah, so let's take a look at hogs. Lean hogs. Okay. Hope you've been trading those, Kirby. So again, we got our trigger right here on the 8th, right? And today we hit new highs. But again, let's use this not as a everything's perfect scenario, but as you shouldn't be surprised. So this white dotted line is what should have happened on lean hogs. okay, based on the last 10 years of seasonal movement. Actual price has gone higher, so it's stronger than the seasonal movement. That's okay, right? We just don't want it weaker when it's a seasonal long. So it's been stronger, okay? And then we know from the forecast, right, this green, that means big moves typically happen. So when we took this trigger back here, if you held on, this should be no surprise, okay? That's what seasonality can give for you. You shouldn't look at this chart now and say, wow, that's surprising. No, it isn't surprising, okay? It shouldn't be. Now let's see what happened. I have to go back further here. Let me grab this. Let me go back. Okay, I'm at 2 years. Okay. Let me back up here. So last year, same thing. We had her move down, right? We had this divergence in April. This is perfect, folks. We had it, and here's the trigger last year, April 8th. April 8th. Look at that. Okay. Yet people say seasonality doesn't work. Okay, that's last year's trade. And this is this year's trade so far. Okay. So as long as it's acting like it should, you're giving yourself a high chance to not only make money, but make some big runs. Okay. Okay, let me bring up a couple others. So you might, why do I have Penn up here? So I love Penn, the opportunity coming up here. Okay. And so again, these are giving us some opportunities. It's flirting with that 50 period moving average again. Okay. So when we get this trigger on Penn, it's going to be a great opportunity for you. Okay. So keep an eye on Penn. All right, a couple questions. Let's see. Let's take a look. Olga, NVAX, sure. Yeah, so looking good. I've had the big move up, move down. Typically, when we get into May, it makes the big move, right? So what you're really looking for is somewhere in April, when you get another trigger, we don't know when that'll be, right? Be a good long opportunity to catch this move. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Oh, let's see. So with Tesla, the problem with Tesla, right? If you do a leap, it's super expensive. Okay. So depends on your size of your account and so forth. Okay. Obviously, you can make a tremendous amount of money, but when you're trading something that expensive, that trade could be larger than most people's accounts. So, if you're trading a $3, $4, $5 million account, you want to trade some leaps on Tesla, absolutely. If you're trading at 50,000, no, I wouldn't recommend it. Okay. Tesla's one of those expensive, obviously expensive products. So a lot of folks can't trade those. Yeah. Yeah. So Emran asked a great question. So, let's say you're looking at something like, let's do Bitcoin. Right. So there's no seasonality yet, right? On Bitcoin. It hasn't been around long enough. Okay. But yeah, you can absolutely look at something that's highly correlated with that. Okay. I've got a correlation thing I've created in TradeStation that will tell me things that are highly correlated. So that's what I like to look at. That hey, if I like to trade something like Tesla, is there something else that may be highly correlated to Tesla, like that's cheaper? Okay. And so I look at that all the time. Let me grab my notes here for you. So let's say you wanted to trade Tesla. Okay. bring up Tesla. So you can look at the chart again. So you see it made the down move, is consolidating, right? All right. So let's look at something like NIO. Okay, it looks fairly similar, right? So NIO is highly correlated with Tesla, yet it's only 37 bucks. Okay, so as Tesla goes higher, NIO has a high likelihood of going higher as well. Okay. Also, by the way, but it's expensive. So is Zoom, highly correlated with Tesla. Okay. So is BEP. Okay. Brookfield Renewable Partner. So those of you that would love to trade Tesla, but say you can't, my argument would be you don't have to. You can trade either BEP or NIO, N-I-O. Okay, it can be cheaper for you, and you're going to get a nice move with over 95% correlation right now. Okay. Makes sense? So put those on your watch list. Absolutely. Let's take a look at DKNG. Why does that not surprise me, Alan, that you're looking at DraftKings? All right, so yeah, so there's no seasonal here, right? If you email me later, I'll look to see something that's highly correlated so that we can look at seasonality. I don't have my TradeStation up and running right now for this. It's a different computer. Okay, but yes, you can look at something that's highly correlated with DraftKings and look at a seasonal movement. But if you don't have seasonality, right, it's in an uptrend, what do you want to do? For your next entry, you just want to wait for Laguerre or a next green Hackenacci dot. My caution, ADX is red, it may just consolidate for a while. SFL. So Ship Finance International. So again, here's where I think seasonality can play a role for everybody. Okay, basically, you top in May, start of May, typically, and then head lower. So at this point, I wouldn't be interested in doing any long plays on this because I know we're probably close to a top. And look at these wicks, right at 8.4. So we're probably really close to a top here. Okay, at least the odds are that we're going to go lower than higher. So pick something that's stronger. Okay. Yeah, absolutely, Shiv. More than likely. Yeah, yeah. You know, and when we look at Penn, right? You know, you can see here, beautiful move coming, right? As we talked about. So this is one where I'm just waiting for the entry. Easy rules to try to hit that, right? All right. Yeah, the other thing you can do is if you do have something that has more implied volatility than you like to trade, you can look at something similar and see if it's less. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great strategy, Imran. Absolutely. All right, is there anything else you want me to look at? Oh, you know, I didn't talk about the dollar index. Let me bring that up. Let me clear this old stuff out. Okay. So the dollar index, remember we were in this massive downtrend, right? And remember that was predicted up until right around February, we looked to go higher, right? But price, so once we got into February here, we got a combo long, but remember I said, I'm not interested in that. And why was that? because you're fighting this massive downtrend, okay? So what I said was, the way I like to trade these is to wait for that second entry, okay? Because then you, as long as you have higher lows, then that could be a trend change, okay? So if you ignored this one, okay, and then you got in on this one right here, you took 3 or 4 days of heat. If you got in here, again, okay, to get in, take 3 or 4 days of heat possibly, but then it made its move with the next trigger, okay? So we have higher lows on that dollar index. That's the easier way to play those though, is look for that higher low, okay? It'll save you a lot of headaches. Yeah, let's take a look at Adobe. I love Adobe. Okay. Okay, so we had earnings. It looks like it beat it. Okay, so of course stock price went down today because everybody was going long probably. No, I don't know why. But so yeah, so look at that, right? The 5 years beautiful, the 10 years beautiful. What's my caution on this? My caution is, you see how recently, since February, it's been going down, but typically it doesn't. So it has been a little bit weaker, okay, than what it typically is. So by definition, it's not as normal. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not as normal as I'd like to see, especially on an expensive stock. Okay, I'm not going to jump the gun on this one, knowing there's a little bit more risk because it's been weaker this year. Okay, but that's how this can help you. You have so many opportunities, folks. Just skip it for now and go to something that's acting more normal. Okay. You don't have to spend hours reading the news trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Adobe. You just know it's not acting that normal right now, okay? In saying that, I think with high likelihood, it'll come back up here and hit this 510 level, but it is more risk. It's not as normal. So not enough data on WKEY, okay? So I don't really have a comment on it right now. Something's been going on with it, but there's no seasonal influences. It's a very speculative stock. Okay, so it's more about your risk reward. I mean, is this the top and it's going to come back down, or I wouldn't have a clue how to trade this one. Yeah. So if you're looking to trade it, let it dip though, in my opinion, before you go long again. Certainly gave a nice trigger here, and it gave a nice trigger here. Okay, so very interesting. Okay, so let me give you just a few suggestions as we get closer to May. Okay, so again, bullish on oil, bullish on the indexes, bullish on the Canadian dollar, bullish on the British pound. It should be a good month coming up, folks. And we'll talk about some shorter term trades within that window of opportunity as well in the coming weeks here. Okay. But those of you that have been sitting on your hands waiting, you're doing good. Okay. Now we're just waiting for this Heikin-Achi to turn back green for us. Right? Heikin-Achi turned back green for us. Oh, let me bring up bonds again, though. We didn't talk about those today. So remember, massive downtrend. I don't want to go against that. Okay, so what would I look for? Just like when we were talking about the dollar index, for me to ever want to go long on bonds again, I want to see a higher low. So let's say this comes back up and then it makes a higher low and then goes higher, then I may be able to do it. But again, fighting that massive downtrend, no need to do that. Look at something else. Okay. All right, folks. A couple things I'm working on, just to kind of give you an idea, is I'm creating my Laguerre Hackenacci indicator, which basically is formulated, instead of using regular price, it is going to use the Hackenacci formula. Okay, so I'm in the process of testing that out to see if I like it even better than the traditional Laguerre oscillator. Again, Laguerre has been my favorite trigger for over almost 4 years now, but I'm always looking at ways to improve. And the Hackenacci certainly helped the entries as well. And then I'm working on a couple other tools that I'll be talking about, some windows of opportunities, I'm going to call them. But if you have any questions, just reach out to me and we'll go from there. But other than that, folks, have a great rest of the week. And as always, reach out if you have any questions. Good luck. Take care.